You're listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app, the greatest podcast ever for MLB DFS. It's me, it's Chris Meaney, and it's Tuesday, and me and my boy, Mr. Canada, are back for some more. We're going to recap yesterday's games, take you through some of the wagering here on Tuesday's slate, as well as all the DFS that your mind can handle, and I hope your pocketbook can handle it too, because Chris, there's a lot of expensive pitchers tonight on the board. No discounts, none at all. It's time to open up the pocketbook and get ready to pay.
Yeah, you're right, man. Over on DraftKings, there's 4 pitchers, at least $10,000, and a ton that are like high nines. So
I was gonna say, and a bunch of nines where it was like, oh, well, maybe Hamels. Nope.
No.
Or maybe like, nope, not
No.
no. Maybe nope. What up? Nope. Just none. Nope. So what does that mean? That means we're gonna have to use the LineStar app today a little bit and start to find some of the stacks, because they have a tool there. For those of you who don't know, who still haven't decided to listen to us and go in and get the app, they have a stack finder tool here that you can sort by everything. It is amazing. You could sort it by value. You could sort it by Vegas lines. You could sort it by ceiling, floor, projected salary, projected points, everything. And we're going to have to utilize that tonight to find some bats, because it's all about finding the right discount bats today. And before we go into today, let's take a look back at yesterday. Verlander was good, but you know, I'll right here. We always take ourselves to task on the show when we get things wrong, and we love to pat ourselves in the back when we get stuff right. Mm-hmm. But you know, I said I don't have the stones to go with Odorizzi tonight against Verlander. I just don't. There's a lot of times where I like to do that. We've done it here on the show this very month, more than once, and we've been right about it. We should have done it again. I was wrong. We should have had Odorizzi last night. Unfortunately, the Houston Astros offense just didn't show up, Chris. And sometimes that contrarian play is the right one. I couldn't get there with Odorizzi. I just couldn't do it. Maybe just too much respect for Verlander. But hey, you know, you got to score a run if you're going to get Justin Verlander a win. Just one.
yeah, listen, I mean, he only gave up 2 hits, right? Yeah, just get him a run. Yeah, Odorizzi was great. You're right. We should have been on him. You know, to be honest, like I won't be on him much this year. He's a pitcher I'm going to attack.
Well,
he does have some strikeout
down.
upside. Yeah, that's right. I mean, in the right situation, for him to pitch 7 innings, scoreless, 4 hits, and 7 K is very impressive against an Astros team who really doesn't strike out. I know Springer wasn't playing yesterday, but even still, like that was a team that should have been able to attack Odorizzi. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on him going forward. In the right spots, we'll use him. But yeah, it was an interesting day. I mean, we had we talked about Corbin getting lit up. He was cruising for a little bit, and then he had that bad inning. He's been hit hard. He has a career high hard hit rate and fly ball rate. We'll have to keep an eye on going forward. And Wheeler too. Wheeler kind of got lit up, but Soroka was decent for us. It's now 6 of his first 8 starts, Joe, where he's allowed 1 or 0 runs. Pretty solid outing for him.
Soroka was definitely part of the good that we talked about yesterday. Is, you know, as good as the Padres have done a job of getting more talent on the roster, they're still the Padres. Yeah. You know, they still strike out too much. They still have some issues there. There's still a lot of youth in that team sometimes. So for me, looking at it as well, Eduardo Rodriguez, another guy we talked about a lot.
Yes.
You know, he was so close. Like, you know, it was that one bad inning in the second, and he was fine. He struck out 7 guys. He was everything. It's just that one bad inning bit him, and it sucks. Of course, the Red Sox did score enough runs for him, so he was in line for the win. He didn't get the win, unfortunately. That stinks. But look, what are you going to do? I mean, we had the right thing. He was just a little inefficient with the one bad inning, but you had the strikeouts. We were on the right track there, just not pan out. But what are you going to do? However, somebody decided to resurrect themselves, and that was Jesus Aguilar. You see what I did there?
Yeah, I did, yes.
Religion joke, which I'm sure people love. But anyway, Jesus Aguilar, his first multi-hit game of the season. I know that sounds really bad, but it was a 2-home run performance, so I wonder, I'm sure the algorithm hasn't caught up quite yet, so are we going back to the well again tonight, Mr. Meaney?
I mean, if you're playing multiple lineups, I mean, why not try to get him in there? He's up against Herman Marquez today. It's not as nice of a matchup, but I mean, yeah. How many times do we talk about trends, right? I mean, this guy has been awful all year long. Maybe it just takes a little bit of confidence, and obviously, he's not going to get back to the same guy he was last year. 30 bombs, over 100 RBIs, but he's not this bad, and he's in a good spot in the order. If he does hit again in the cleanup spot with no Yelich, yeah, I mean, we can take a shot on him. You're right. I mean, the algorithm is not going to be caught up to him. He's going to remain a value on both sites. His ownership will be a little bit higher. That's why we liked him, right, Joe? We kept throwing his name out there like him and Travis Shaw.
Right. It's like, these guys are better than this, and when you start losing playing time, that's really difficult, and then it's hard to get back into the groove. And that's
a big week for him.
It is. This is with the Yelich back injury thing, this is a great opportunity for him to show up again. It was a great opportunity last night with Benuelos too, which we kind of touched on, but my concern with him was the walk rate was high, and I just didn't want to get into this, but he was good enough to get the victories, so that was another one that was a little wacky there. And 3 more home runs for Baltimore given up, which means the grand total this year is 74.
74, my goodness.
74 home run, and it's not even May 1st. Dear Baltimore Orioles.
It's not, yeah. And Tim Anderson again with another home run yesterday. Yeah. It's crazy. I've been trying to sell him in season-long formats because the shortstop position's so deep, and I'm pretty stacked myself, and nobody wants to buy into it, so I'll just keep him.
Yeah, at this point, that's what you got to do. All right, let's move forward. Also, one note, too, Nate Lowe was called up
good call.
After the podcast yesterday. I mean, literally right afterward. So it was a little annoying there. From that point of view, but not that we were going to necessarily throw him right in there, but hey, he did it a double, so that's good. So he did get a hit there. He also had a walk in that game, so expect him to get some playing time because you don't bring up a bat like that, and they could certainly continue to improve that offense, but you don't bring up a young bat like that unless you're going to play him.
Right.
So that's pretty much
hitting the 5 spot too.
Hitting the 5 spot, hitting a good spot in the order. So keep that in mind as Nate Lowe is now a part of that Tampa offense moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, Meaney, let's do it. And let's start to break down the slate. And let us start at the very top, which again, it's a lot of pitchers today. But these are some of the lesser ones that you have to pay for. Tyson Ross and Vince Velasquez will lock up in Philadelphia tonight. And that one's at 7:05 Eastern. Look, Ross is a guy that typically gets hit too much. Sometimes will also have trouble with location and walks. And Velasquez is another of these guys where I know when we're trying to look at some mid-range pitchers, I think Velasquez is not a terrible investment tonight considering that Detroit lineup really is pretty thin, especially the second half of it, especially when they're traveling into a National League park. So even though I don't love Vince Velasquez, I think you have to have him under consideration tonight in the 2 pitchers situation.
I would agree. Actually, he's one of my favorite kind of mid-tier guys. Yeah, I mean, there's so much studs up at the top. It's hard to make a case really for Velasquez, besides the fact that the Tigers have the highest strikeout rate in baseball. And if you go look at Velasquez, I mean, it's been 2 or 0 runs in every single outing this year. He went into Colorado, had a good showing, had 8K, only gave up the 2 runs, went into New York, faced the Mets, 5 scoreless, 6K. Walks and homers, definitely an issue with them. The Tigers, though, not walking a lot, 8% of the time.
Not a lot of power either.
Not a lot of power. You're right. Nothing, really. Like, Castellanos is it. I mean, Miggy's getting on base. He's not hitting home runs. I think he's got 1, which came the other day. So it's actually a pretty good spot for Velasquez.
It is, and he's more of a 5-inning pitcher. He's only gotten to the 6th inning 1 time this year. So that's something that I don't love, but the strikeout to walk ratio is solid. 22-7 is what you want for. He's been tough to square up to, so I'll take my chances. If you're going to fade the top groups here, this is the first guy under that 9K where I can get behind it. And you might have to really look seriously at this because it's going to be very difficult, I think, to field a good offense with a solid floor on tonight and pay up for 2 of these big-time arms. It's just going to be tough to do. Adam Wainwright and Anibal Sanchez in the next one, locking up in Washington. Now, Sanchez is a guy sometimes we've had some moments with. Now, Wainwright is another one of these guys, too, where I feel like you never know what you're going to get with Wainwright. It's another one of these tricky scenarios. You talked about this Cardinals offense just yesterday too, and DeYoung waking up really. So I'm curious, what's your take on this one with Adam Wainwright traveling into a situation here where he's at this point in time he's still an option out there. I think Wainwright at 7.2, and that lineup for Washington is good, but I mean, it's not as fearsome as it is without Harper in it anymore.
Yeah, and Yeah, or without Rendon either, who
Well, there you go. Yeah,
again didn't get back into the lineup. And word out of Washington is they're going to make a decision on him whether they're going to put him on the IL or not.
I think they're going to, and they'll just
Yeah.
retroact. It sounds like that's the way it's going.
I believe he's missed 6 of his last 7 games. So, yeah, I mean, that was my thought. I wish I would have had this yesterday. I wasn't going to be on St. Louis pitching yesterday, but just the fact that it was a good opportunity to jump on the Cardinals as road dogs up against Corbin, at least the over, because, yeah, you're right. I mean, the St. Louis bats have been good. I mean, they're leading the division. They're off to a great start with not even getting a lot of great pitching themselves. You look at Washington and you see a lot of kids in the lineup. Kieboom is great, and Soto and Robles, sure, they got some upside, but near the end of that lineup, like Matt Adams in the middle of that lineup, Brian Dozier, a lot of strikeouts there in that bat as well. So I'm not crazy about Wainwright, but I do like the over in this game. I think there's going to be some run scored, and I think St. Louis should be able to attack Anibal Sanchez. I'm just not feeling. Sanchez hasn't shown the same thing as
that's what I mean.
Last
it's like
year.
Sanchez hasn't shown you what he showed you last year, especially
not even
second
close.
half.
16 walks, Joe.
Yeah, Sanchez was really good in the second half last year, and this is a lineup that's really just a little barren right now for Washington. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I look at the other side of this and I say, well, hey, the Cardinals are at full strength. There's nobody. I mean, they're all right there, and they're hitting the ball pretty well as a collective group. So for me, I think that this might be that group that you target today. I think Wainwright, Velasquez right at the top. Those are two guys where, if you can't pay for pitching and you're like, I don't want to get in the tournament game today because I think there's other ways to get pitching points. I think those are two guys you have to take advantage of the current standing. And this is what's fun about DFS is you can take advantage of a team that's struggling or that's got guys out of the lineup and try to get a W here. And I think you can with those guys. Now, in terms of stacking too, I'm okay with having the Cardinals. The LineStar app likes them as one of the favorite stacks of the day too. They've got Carpenter, DeYoung, and Ozuna in a grouping together, which makes a lot of sense to me. And then the Philly side, I'm also okay with targeting against Tyson Ross, a guy who gives up a ton of home runs. The problem is, you can't get to the Harper part of the stack or the Hoskins part of the stack unless you're in on Velasquez and Wainwright kind of guy. So you're not going to be able to field those guys in a respectable lineup with the top-tier pitchers, the Snells of the world tonight.
Right, yeah, you're going to have to make a decision if you're going to play tournaments to spend down on, like you said, a Wainwright or a Velasquez, and that'll allow you to spend up on bats. I mean, we've seen so far this season that maybe spending up on pitching is not the way to go. Now, there are some studs in some good spots here today, but I agree with you. I mean, if you can get those guys in, Carpenter on FanDuel, 3.7. You want to go down as far as Jose Martinez in the 5 spot at 3.3. He's in a good situation as well. And, Dexter Fowler didn't get in the lineup yesterday. He doesn't have any power really left in his bat, but he had a really good week last week, so maybe that's something to build on as well, just maybe attacking the later part of that lineup. And the 5.2 team applied total is the highest in the board tonight.
All right, the Mets and Reds will face off again tonight. Jason Vargas, who stinks against Luis Castillo, and just for a little perspective, how bad Jason Vargas is. You ready for this? This is going to be fun. You're going to like this. So, the last 3 starts he's had, take a guess how many innings he's thrown in the last 3 starts.
Oh, my goodness.
Collective as a total. You're close. You're close. You're going 9. 9 total innings in his last. Not 1 start, not 2, 3.
I was too hard on him.
Yeah, you were a little hard on it. And this is the thing. I love Castillo, and this Mets lineup is another one. It's a good lineup.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm a Castillo guy. To me, there's all kinds of opportunity. I wish if he was like 9.5, I would love it. But unfortunately, he's not. He's over.
Are you going to go as high? Are you still going to be in on him though? At that top tier with Bauer?
I think I'm in because I believe that there's so much to like. I'll tell you what, I'm in on the Reds offense for sure.
Definitely.
Looking at Puig at 3.8 still on the DraftKings side. Votto still 3.9. These are guys under 4 that you can stack up against Vargas. And I mean, you're not only going to face Vargas. You're probably going to face Vargas once, maybe twice. That's asking a lot. Has faced him twice in this game, but then you're going to get into that soft underbelly of middle relief. And those guys typically give up runs, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. So if you're looking for the first stack of the day, it's the Reds. I mean, besides the other 2 we just talked about in terms of, pinpointing those guys and those matchups, if you're looking for the guys to fit in with the cash game pitchers, I think the Reds are the first group that kind of fits that bill.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time, and we're starting to see the price, increase now with these guys. I mean, they scored 12 runs on Friday. We talked about them being, just low owned and cheap, affordable. It's the same thing right now. I mean, Suarez is 4-1. Last year, a 426 WOBA against lefties was the 5th best mark in baseball. He hit 320, had 11 home runs. He already has 2 homers against lefties this year. Puig has a couple homers off lefties as well. So this stack is not going to sneak up on anybody. It's probably not going to be low owned tonight, but it's a good one. And you can afford the top price pitchers if you want to go with this stack.
You can go with the Reds and do that, yeah. And yes. I think that's what's most important there. And it's funny, yesterday I had Peraza in some lineups too, because I just, the Mets have historically struggled against guys with speed who can, anybody can steal a base or get on base. They tend to struggle against those kind of players. And Peraza had a decent little return last night for the investment on him, and I want to bring him up again today for that same reason. If he gets on, he's a lock to steal a base. And actually tonight, he is the number 1 shortstop on the DK side on LineStar app in terms of return on investment. Projected
Nice.
8 points. Last night he had 15, so he doubled up their projection from last night. And he's the kind of guy who gives the Mets all kinds of fits. And you have to keep that in mind as you go along. When you see the Mets and you see a guy that's got speed, that's the kind of guy you want in your lineup, because he's going to steal second. He's going to get his stolen base at some point in this series, and he's going to probably score a run if he does. Aaron Brooks and Rick Porcello lock up in this one. I'm not a Porcello guy. I know you're not either.
No, it's hard.
Hittable. And I love that in the sense of wanting to invest in the A's. But the problem is Chapman's 4.8. I mean, Chris Davis is a little bit less expensive at 4.4. So I like that one. But I think Kendrys Morales is the one guy in that lineup at 3.4 that I can get behind. And also the projection on him is good tonight as well, hitting from the left side against the righty Porcello.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call by you and LineStar for sure. The walks have just been an issue. 15 walks so far for Porcello. He's given up 34 hits in 23 innings. So this guy is not missing any bats. He's walking everybody. He's given up 5 home runs, at least 1 in every start, but 1 against Baltimore. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're very expensive, but you're right. Kendrys Morales, maybe even Profar, just trying to get a cheap bat in here. If the walks are going to continue, then, Porcello is going to continue to get in trouble.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. So Kendrys Morales in that game, probably the best value there. I know Profar is low too, but, after that, one good week he had, it's been pretty quiet.
He's had a brutal start to the year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even
200
want to
right now.
roster him in season long.
You know what, too? And don't be shocked if you don't see Franklin Barreto at some point.
Yeah.
Because that's a guy that I think they finally need to figure out if he can play or not.
He had a decent spring too. He was making things happen in spring. I thought maybe you're right. You probably will see him in May if guys like Profar continue to struggle.
In your season-long leagues, if you play, keep that in mind. Yeah. That's one guy you might want to pick up now for 0, who in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, if Profar continues to struggle, you might see some action there where he might go and play a little second base or what have you, and they might just swing Profar around and be like a super utility day off kind of fellow. And I think that's perfectly fine. Moving on here. Also, one more note to another cheap guy in this Boston lineup, Jackie Bradley Jr., 3.12. App likes him as well, and return on investment.
2-2 on FanDuel.
2-2 on FanDuel. So another guy that, you can put in there. It's a decent matchup for him against Brooks with the lefty-righty. And you like the price. You like him being able to fit in with those big cash game arms. Now, speaking of cash game arms, here's Trevor Bauer, 10.9, going against the Miami Marlins. And my goodness, all kinds of strikeout potential here. I mean, it's hard not to see a 9 strikeout performance here. Curtis Granderson might give him 3 all by himself.
I think that's a pretty good bet.
Over under 2.5 strikeouts for Curtis Granderson tonight.
I'm taking the over.
I'm taking the over, too.
I'm taking the over. Poor Curtis Granderson. I mean, Trevor Bauer is so good. I mean, it's the walks, right? The walks can get him into issues, the home runs, but he's going to Miami. The 2.9 team implied total for the Marlins is fair. It's by far the lowest on the board. I mean, and the Cleveland Bats they've been a little bit better, right? They held their own in the series against Houston. They're starting to score.
Well, if there's one place that gets better, it's you're always going to get better against Marlins pitching.
Yeah,
and Alcantara's got moments like he'll flash that moment where,
sure.
And it wouldn't shock me if he flashed one of those tonight where, he goes 6 innings and strikes out 6 guys. And you're like, hey, that's a pretty good start. And then he has the other starts where he just blows up. He is still inconsistent. And
it's the walks.
Yeah. It's the walks. It's the youth. It's the, the ability, if you're not getting the calls from the umpire you want, being able to go in there and overcome that. And that's a tricky thing to do. But Bauer's going to be the chalkiest of the cash game pitchers probably tonight with this matchup.
He probably will, yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine with that. I don't think that's wrong.
No, I don't think it's wrong either. For Alcantara, I mean, he just faced Cleveland. He walked 4. He only struck out 2 through 5. He only, allowed the 1 run. It was a homer. But for Bauer, it's just, he's in such a good
National
spot.
League too.
National League, 45K, 40 innings. So he is going to be chalky. I mean, if you're playing just a couple lineups, maybe you pivot off of him. But it's a very strong play.
Yeah, I think you got to be in there. All right, Chris Paddock. San Diego Padres taking on Julio Teheran and the A's. Now, what do you make of Paddock at 9K tonight against this lineup that's obviously very solid? And Albies did another home run yesterday. He continues to hit well in the top of this order.
Yeah, Paddock this is a really good test for him. When you look deep into the numbers, he's striking guys out. He's hardly given up any runs, but if you just look at the fly ball rates at 45%, now that's going to help him in San Diego. Now this game being in Atlanta, the wind's blowing in, and the hard hit rate is at 47% too. It's one of the highest in the league. So when contact has been made on him, it's hard, and it's in the air. So I'm not going to be.
Here's a little note too.
Oh man,
he's never thrown 90 pitches in a game this year.
No, he's and you know what?
He's made it to the 6th or 7th inning, and that's the thing. Like he's an 85 pitch pitcher, and the reason I bring this up is because when you have guys like Donaldson, like Freeman, Markakis, guys who really know how to work counts, and guys that are very patient at the plate, I don't think that plays very well for Chris Paddock to get into the 6th, 7th inning in this game.
No, I mean the Braves lead the league in walk percentage. There you go.
These guys know how to work counts. Paddock is a pitcher that I look at who's they're not, the leash isn't long enough for him to get past those. So it doesn't make me want Julio Teheran necessarily.
No.
But it just makes me want to fade away from Paddock a little.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. I mean, you look at his.
I can't wait to see the results on this one tomorrow when we come back. Like this is a good test I want to see. It's a good test. It's not a test I want to put my money on to find out the answer to.
No.
So that's my answer to that one. Let's move on here too, and then we'll get to some of the other offenses. Let's kind of breeze through these pitchers. Garrett Cole at 10.2, Michael Pineda 7.7 on the DraftKings side. Twins and Astros. Now, I guess the question is, are the Astros in a little bit of a little mini slump here after last night against, or is that just like a one-off, Chris?
I'm thinking it's just a one-off.
Right.
Yeah.
So who do you like more, Garrett Cole at 10.2 against Minnesota, or do you like Luis Castillo at 10.1 against the Mets and Jason Vargas?
Oh man, well I like Bauer more than the other two, but if I was to choose between Castillo and Cole, I might go with Castillo. Against Vargas.
Castillo too.
And
it's my disdain for Vargas. That's all.
That's what it is as well. And I just like the fact that I think the Reds should be able to get to Vargas. Houston should be able to get to Pineda too. I mean, this is the second straight time he's faced the Astros. He's been hit hard. He's been giving up a lot of home runs. But Minnesota has a decent offense, and Cole he's been great. He's striking guys out, but he's also given up some home runs and has struggled with a little bit of his command too. So Minnesota could potentially get to Cole.
Look, I think the whole Cole thing is a little overrated. I mean, the last 3 starts, I understand he had that one against Texas, where he gave up 9 hits and he only lasted 4 1/3. But look, again, it was in Texas, and that's something I think we always have to take a grain of salt. But 11 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts in the last 3 starts. I mean, let's remember who you. Now, look, Odorizzi, we didn't have the stones for to go Oppo. I don't have the stones to go Oppo with Michael Pineda for sure. If I didn't have it with Odorizzi, I didn't have it with Pineda, so forget that. Okay, now, Herman, one more thing, too. CJ Cron, LineStar App, very high on him today. CJ Cron, 3.8 return on investment. Now, Garrett Cole, very good pitcher, but still, in terms of looking for guys under 4K that you can invest in, that's one guy that they're high on the return on investment in him in terms of the stats against Cole, too. Herman Marquez on the road, but Milwaukee. So it's not like, you're leaving the unfriendly confines of Colorado for even more unfriendly confines of Milwaukee. So do you have the guts at 9.7? I feel like if he was 9.2, it would be much more of a conversation.
Yeah.
Or if he was 8.9, we'd be like, oh man, I'm real tempted. But 9.7 not tonight. I just don't see it with the rest of the board.
No, I don't either. He's basically in that elite range, right? I mean, he's $500 cheaper than Garrett Cole. We know the upside with Cole, so I can't do it. Not that I'm going to stack his bats in Milwaukee, but I will consider again if Jesus Aguilar gets in there, if Mike Moustakas, Travis Shaw, some of these lower owned projected guys, I'll have maybe a couple shares, but I can't go Marquez, man. I just can't. I'm either going to spend down more, if that makes any sense, or just spend up.
Chaucin's a good real-life pitcher at times, but from a fantasy perspective, I just can't get excited about him, especially against this lineup with Colorado that's, all of a sudden gotten a lot wider and longer now that Murphy's back and Dahl's back. A couple weeks ago, I might have taken that Oppo chance, but now.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people will actually be on Colorado because they were disappointing yesterday.
They were.
For us, they were disappointing. A lot of people were in on them stacks. They're very popular in tournaments. Yeah, I would go back to them as well. I think it's a good opportunity against Chacin. Has struggled with the walks, doesn't strike out a whole lot of guys. 7 home runs allowed already this season in 28 innings. Last year, 18 and 192. So good ballpark, good opportunity.
You got to pay. I mean, Blackman,
you do.
Story, and Arenado all over 5 on DraftKings, which is tough.
FanDuel, I guess Murphy's still checking in at a good, reasonable price, 3.5. David Dahl, 3.6.
So he went up $500. I don't.
Ian Desmond got kicked out yesterday, ejected. Thanks for helping us out.
Way to go, Ian, jerk.
2.5 tonight.
I looked up and I was like, "Why has he got a 0?" Oh, that's why. Jerk. He's a fiery son of a gun. All right, Jordan Lyles, who's been very good this year.
He has.
Now goes into Texas to take on Adrian Sampson. Now, here's the thing. This is one of these spots where this is your tournament play here, because there's potential to really go up there and get some bats with this 7.4 price that they are really knocking Jordan Lyles here. And Jordan Lyles has pitched very well this year. Now, I guess the question is, what's your stamina level and belief level of Lyles going into the American League ballpark with the DH, and not only that, into Texas, no less, with a Texas lineup that's a little hot right now?
Yeah, it is. It's really hot. Yeah, man, it's tough for me.
Yeah, that's
tough. It's really
not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
No, I mean, I lied when I said the high team implied totals in Philly. This Texas is at 5.7, and on the other side, Pittsburgh,
which I think is a little.
It doesn't score.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't understand why that total is so high on that. I guess they're really just factoring in ballpark. But you look at some of these prices too, trying to switch over. Gregory Polanco is just 2.8 on FanDuel.
Yes.
So that's one guy that sticks out like a giant sore thumb here against Sampson. A left-handed bat in a good ballpark. Melky Cabrera, 2.6. Those two guys back-to-back there. I love that pairing against Sampson tonight. I think on the FanDuel side, you really got to pay close attention to those guys, and they have to be in the lineup.
Yeah, I would agree with you there too. And I mean, even Young Ho Kang, I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot, but over the course of his career, home runs have come against righties. I'm looking at Sampson, and I see a 40% fly ball rate this year, 42 last year. So that's what his career mark is at. 40% hard hit rate this year, 41 last year. So this guy gets hit hard. Obviously, they're projecting some runs, a good opportunity for Pittsburgh to get right. I mean, they have struggled this year. We picked on them, but we were talking earlier, a couple days ago about this lineup eventually heating up. This is a good opportunity against a right-handed pitcher. They struggle against lefties. And the same thing with Lyles. When he pitches at home, PNC Park, the fly ball rate helps him out, doesn't allow a whole lot of home runs there, but even still, 5 home runs allowed last year, 12 and just under 90 innings. So there is an opportunity for Texas bats. I just feel like they're just so expensive. You're not going to be able to get any value in there that I'm honestly not crazy about them. Not that I want to play Lyles. I would rather maybe go the other way, and maybe that's being contrarian in tournaments to get some of these Pirates in.
All right, let's talk about Yonder Alonso in this game too, because I don't want to talk about the pitchers for the White Sox in Baltimore, but I do want to talk about Alonso. He's got 2 home runs in his last 3 starts. He's at 4K right now, so he's right on that borderline of starting to get expensive. In the middle of this order, they get up a ton of home runs here for the Baltimore Orioles, and Yonder Alonso is that guy. Looking at this lineup too, you got to pay for Moncada, you got to pay for Abreu,
all of them.
You got to pay for Anderson the most, if you can believe it. Alonso's the one guy sitting in the middle of this, where if you're looking for a one-off at first base, a little bit cheaper, I think it's a good play. I really do.
Yeah, and I joked about this on Twitter. Like, any slump will be ended when you face Baltimore, and
that's it. The slump break, unless you're the Yankees.
Blake's it's surprising that the Yankees are winning ball games. I don't know.
I don't know how they're doing it. But they were bad against Baltimore.
They were bad against Baltimore,
which is so weird. Blake Snell 10.5 against Jake Junis and the Royals. Now, I'm sure Snell will be highly owned too, but I don't see how you can like Snell more than Trevor Bauer tonight. I just don't see how that's possible.
No, I'm in on Bauer. Bauer's my guy, and again, if I was to pick a second, it'd be Castillo. So I'm not going to have a lot of exposure to Snell. That could be wrong. It's usually pretty dangerous, but we're looking here 86% precipitation. There's some wind. It looks like it's kind of blowing to right. Keep an eye on that.
A lot of reasons to kind of
maybe this is just a fade tonight for Snell. But I mean if this game does happen, the Rays are going to be able to have success against Jake Junis. Is another gives up a lot of home runs. I think the third most last year.
And Lowe just 3.1. That's another guy too. First base, there's a lot of value tonight. We mentioned Votto already, still a little cheap. We just mentioned Alonso, who's 4, and then Nate Lowe, who is at 3.1. So that's, and not to be confused with Brandon Lau and Nate Lowe,
right?
Even though they're spelled the same. Which also, you shouldn't confuse with Patrick Waugh as well. I mean,
nice, very nice.
You're welcome. I try, but I mean, really. All right, CC Sabathia and the Yankees are going to be in Arizona tonight, taking on Zach Greinke. Greinke's 9.7. Normally, this would be a matchup that I would actually kind of like to get involved with, but
I thought you liked Greinke. Yeah, I thought maybe
I do, but I don't like it on tonight's board.
Yeah, I know.
That's my problem. Yeah. I like it, but not on tonight's board. And the one or two guys that I like in the Yankee lineup are way too expensive for me to get involved in tonight. So I'm just kind of like, no, I'm out. I'm just out.
Yeah, no, I hear you. He's the 7th highest price pitcher on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he's the 4th highest. It's just so hard. I mean, you save money by going with Castillo, or
he's in the same thing with Hamels tonight, where there's nowhere to hide. You just can't do it. It's just sorry. I mean, the only thing I could tell you is Wilmer Flores on FanDuel is 2.2. Historically, hits lefties very well. So against Sabathia tonight, that's another one of these cash game lineup builders. Maybe you throw Wilmer Flores in if he's starting, and you have that verified.
I thought I was gonna, maybe give a little bit of love to Luke Voigt, but he's way too expensive.
That's what I mean.
It's oh my goodness.
There were 2 guys, Chris, Voigt and Gary Sanchez, and both of them are just. I'm sorry, I can't do it tonight.
I don't understand. Like, Greinke's given up 8 home runs, and that was my thinking. Okay, like, Greinke's been really good. He especially of late. Like, after that first start, he's really collected himself.
We were all over that second start. That was our must-start guy.
Yeah,
and that was. My God, did we win a lot of people money on that?
Absolutely, yeah. He was. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, 10 strikeouts. And
you remember that ownership? It was like
yeah. Nobody was. It was you and I.
Yeah,
that's it. 1, 2. But yeah, I was thinking that maybe I would have. Yeah, maybe I'll get a couple of Yankees. I don't know what it is. Is it because they're Yankees? Like, Luke Voigt was just named AL Player of the Week. He had a great week.
Well, look,
they're other guys that have had great
weeks. I think it's just they're playing well. It's in a great ballpark. If it was a worse ballpark and they weren't playing as well, there'd be opportunity. It's just not there.
No, not even on FanDuel. It's not.
You want to do it, and you just can't. All right, Walker Buehler, 9.4, taking on Drew Pomeranz and the Giants. Now, Walker Buehler has been a little polarizing this year. I know I had high expectations for him, and I think it's safe to say he hasn't met the expectations overall. Last 2 starts, 8 strikeouts against the Reds, and then the next one strikeout against the Cubs. So it's been very up and down. The last 2, that's a perfect indication of what Walker Buehler's been. And considering the 9.4 price tag, I don't think he's another one where I'm just going to pass tonight. It's not enough opportunity for me.
Yeah, I have some interest. The same way I liked Kenta Maeda and looked like it was going to be fine with him up until the end of that ball game. The Giants got back into it.
Yeah.
You're right. The strikeouts haven't been there, but this is a decent spot for him on the road. Maybe people are kind of thinking like us. We're a little bit down on him. I know I've had some questions lately. What do I do with Buehler? One guy, you already dropped him. It is expensive, but I'm going to have some exposure. I will. I just like the matchup. The Giants rank like 28th, 29th, or 30th, basically in every single category. So maybe he can get right on the road in San Fran, rack up a few Ks. But you're right. You're not getting any discount on him in terms of pricing. Like, it's not like, oh, I'll save some money and spend down on Walker Buehler, who's struggling. That doesn't.
No, that's what it's not. It's not 9.4. If this is 8.4, we can have the conversation.
Yeah.
9.4 tonight with these other guys on the board, absolutely not. Clay Buchholz and Griffin Canning, who I believe is like a character from an 80s melodrama, I think he was on Dallas or Knott's Landing or one of those. Like, Griffin Canning.
Who shot JR?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Griffin Canning was the guy who shot JR. Now, I'm dating myself with that reference, but for those of you who are over 30, you're welcome.
Hey, man, I've seen a few apps in my day.
Well, at least you know who that is. God. Yeah. But anyway, this is another one, too. Offensively, I'd like to get involved in it. Trouble is how much you're willing to pay. Now, Randall Grichuk, 3.1, I think is a little underpriced over on the FanDuel side. I think that's somebody you can get involved with there. Vlad Guerrero's just 3.4. That's doable. And on the Angels side, again, it's the same old thing. It's Mike Trout and then everybody else. And Mike Trout's just it's a tough sell tonight.
It's amazing. So Canning is the Angels' top pitching prospect, which doesn't say a whole lot, but he has had some good showings in AAA. He's got like 80 innings on his AAA resume, 10K per 9. He struggled with the walks last year. So, guys like Sogard getting on base lately, I don't think he's going to continue to hit home runs. But if you are thinking about stacking against, rookie pitcher in Canning who may not be able to go deep, it's amazing. Guerrero's first road game in LA, whereas I'm sure his dad is going to be on hand for that one. A lot of memories there in LA. But if you want to be a little bit different and contrarian, I still don't understand why the Angels are getting that credit and the respect. The 5 team implied total is pretty high. Clay Buchholz, he does tend to struggle with some walks and some homers, but you're right. Trying to find an Angels guy in there, it's all contrarian GPP. Like Bohr has potential to go yard and Pujols, but I see more zeros out of them than I do, tournament winning performances.
All right. And then one of my favorite guys, Cole Hamels, 8.7 over there, taking on Felix.
Tough spot.
And 8.7 on FanDuel, and on the DraftKings side, let me just swap over there. He is more expensive. He's 9.2. So it's a tough spot in the American League again. It's a good ballpark, but I don't want to go there. There's too much there for me to go negative with him. So I'm going to take another pass on Hamels. And is there anything offensively in this game that's got you excited? Because this is another one where I just kind of go look at it and I go, I don't know. It's like right in the mid-range where I feel like if you're wrong, it's really going to cost you.
Yeah, this may be a little bit of a fade too. And Seattle has just crushed lefties this year, the best WOBA. Honestly, everyone through that lineup, even Jay Bruce, who doesn't hit lefties well, has just crushed lefties.
Well, and those are two guys at 4.1 and 4.3 on DraftKings that are in the middle of that order. Another pairing, like we like to talk about those duos sometimes. That's another one to go in.
I don't want to pick against Hamels. I think he'll be decent. I don't want to play him in a tournament, but I think he'll do enough to limit the damage where I don't think a Seattle stack is all that good of a play.
All right, so give me the betting line for tonight. Who are you going? Who's on the board for you?
I'm going to take the Phillies at home against Detroit. I like Velasquez as well. I think he's a decent tournament pitcher. I like the over in the Washington and St. Louis game. I'm going to take the over in the Red Sox and the Oakland game. I think there's going to be some runs there. Cincy, I'm going to go with them on the road. I'll take them on the road. And then a little bit later on down the board, let's see here. The Rays are in a really good spot as well. Minus 168. I guarantee you by around 7 o'clock or close to this pitch off, it'll be almost minus 200 for them. So jump on them now.
All right. Last thing, one thing to do, and that is to call our shot. I'm going with Yasiel Puig tonight against my boy Jason Vargas. How about you? Who are you calling your shot with tonight?
I'm saying in the same game, Suarez. I'm going to have almost 100% exposure to Suarez in tournaments. And
back-to-back, baby. Let's do it.
Let's go in that same
That's what
game.
I want. All right. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at LineStar App, at Chris Meaney, and at Joe Pisapia 17. Make sure you're downloading the app and subscribing to the show, because if you're playing DFS or you're just love baseball, this is the program for you, okay? Every day, basically, we're out here talking baseball, getting you prepped. Even if you're somebody who's doing daily lineups in leagues too, this is going to help you across the board. So subscribe to the show. It's on Google. It's on iTunes. It's iHeartRadio. It's everywhere for you. There's only one thing left to do, and that's sign off. And we're going to leave the on-deck circle, step into the batter's box, and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.